file in a few more, and then I'll start talking to people like you know, what you're here for. Oh, Sunday. It's definitely low energy day. So you guys have to like pep me up. I'm sure that won't be a problem, but. That was very sweet of you, thank you.
Dale orders you to be happy.
Oh, well I suppose I must be happy then. Oh boy, how could I not be happy? I'm surrounded by wonderful, beautiful geekdom. I love it. It's what makes the world worth living in. Let's see. Yes, are we still filing them in? Are we still doing that? I feel like I'm teaching a class. I really do. Like, today's lecture is going to be on Shakespeare's influence on John Donne and Quentin Tarantino and the guys who made Lost. Not a fan of that show. By the way. I'm hiding behind that gigantic camera and I'm like, oh, where's your head? Oh, there it is. Superpower comes out. Head becomes a camera and snaps pictures. Hello everyone coming in. Hi. Oh, very tall, beautiful girl with rainbow wig hair. Awesome. Yes, you. You're a tall drink of water, madam. Nice. You're like 8 feet tall. That's awesome, right? You are one of the exalted ones.
If I'm that tall, I can't get a boyfriend.
Right?
You're that tall, you can't get a boyfriend?
Whatever, Jasmine. You can get whoever you want.
What is it with women not wanting short guys? I love short guys. They're so portable. What?
We don't like pipsqueaks.
Oh, I love them. Pipsqueaks are tough, man. They're tough.
They're squirrely.
They're squirrely, they're tough, they can hide like nobody's business. Trust me, being tall, as I'm sure you can relate, my dear, kind of sucks. Because this is not a tall person's world. It is a small person's world, or a fun-sized person's world. 2 things a short person is never called upon to do. Reach a high shelf, or pull down a projector screen. You'll also never run into a fire sprinkler. And you'll be able to go to Europe and not scrape your head on every damn ceiling of every building that's older than 1950. Talk about being in England for 3 weeks, or for 6 weeks rather, when I was 18. I felt like Hagrid everywhere. Let's go get a drink, because 16 was the legal drinking age, so I was 18 at the time. Let's go get a drink. Oh. I would like bending down like this. The tables are really just footstools to me.
Talk about walking into a bar.
What? Yes, talk about walking into a bar. All right, well, we're beginning to settle in, and I have an hour with you lovely people, which I love. I like to talk, and I like random questions, and I don't always know what I'm talking about. But you'll notice that does not stop me. So, without further ado, as they're still finding a few people, we're just going to begin. This is a Q&A format, so the idea is you bring the Q, I provide the A. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Roll the dice, find out. I love random questions. I'll just have you raise your hand. Not yet. Wait for it. Where? Give me the gum. And now the thing is, couple of rules. This is a family-friendly setting, so kindly do not ask me questions that involve me responding in ways that you may not want your mother to hear. If your mother happens to be a sailor, well then just use your best judgment. I'm not going to take my clothes off, and I'm not going to dance, and I love you all. I don't love you that much. Also, try to keep the requests down to a minimum. Like, it's cool from, like, I'll say things like in Sebastian's voice, or wish you happy birthday. That's perfectly fine. I don't want to call your friend and say hi. And please don't ask me to sign things, because as much as I love you and I would love to do it, that's for a different time, a different place. Here, it tends to disrupt the panel, and other people that want to ask questions don't have a chance. So let's keep it to questions mainly, and just general awesomeness. So, who has a question for me? I saw that hand go up first in the green tank.
Do you have any other nutty booth stories, like recording booth stories?
Corny booth stories?
Nutty.
Nutty. Nutty. I love you're like, no, nutty. As opposed to sweet, salty, bitter, or sour. I have those too. Yes, I have a lot of Nutty Booth stories because I am a very physical actor when it comes to especially certain voices. They're just, my body moves in certain ways to get the voice out, and because you have to stay on mic so you're not like hits you, you have to kind of stay in place, which makes you look even more ridiculous. And by you, I mean me. And in Funimation, actually pulling in Tatum is their euphemism for looking like a complete jackass while you record. I've had some fun things happen in the booth. I've passed out before screaming. Oh, everyone's like, no, in Funimation that means like you're now part of an exclusive club called anyone who's worked on Dragon Ball. And so, yeah, seriously, I don't remember what it was. Actually, we were doing Vexiel. Anyone here a fan of the film Vexiel? Oh, one person, yay! The rest of you fail. There's a scene where the character I play has this crazy, just insane, top of the voice scream, and it's a CGI animated film, so it's not a very stylized flap. It's very human looking, and it's like his face is doing all kinds of, you see veins and his everything, and it's just like watching this, and it's like 8 seconds long. That may not sound like a very long period of time, but the equivalent would be 8 seconds of standing on your head trying to drink a glass of water while someone is continually punching you in the stomach. Ergo, an eternity. And so Mike McFarland, of course, who's from the Dragon Ball group, is like, oh, yeah, let me show you how to do this, because I was new to the screaming at the time. It was kind of early days for me. And he got up there in front of the mic and makes it look like it's the easiest thing in the world. He's like, yeah, Mike McFarland. And I'm like watching this going, I'm so screwed. Got in the booth, and we did a couple of takes. And every time Mike's very careful because they blow your voice out when you do this. And it was a top of the voice scream, for 8 seconds. And I'm like, ah! This is like a tiny version of that same scream. And I get to the end of it, and then your breath just tapers off, and you see stars. I'm like, how long was that? Mike would be like, 4 seconds. Over and over again, and finally, my last time, I got exactly to 8.5 seconds because they needed just a little more time than a second, so he can taper it off because they cut away from the scream to something else, so it can't be just like exactly 9 seconds because it'll be like cut. Doesn't work. So I did it, and exactly just as I got it to the end, and I'm watching the time code, and I'm like world goes dark. Now, the thing about passing out in this fashion is it's more of a browning out than a blackout because you don't go completely unconscious. In other words, my brain made sure that I was awake for all the really key moments of the experience. Of blacking out, falling down, waking up just in season to feel the floor hitting my ass. And the chair falling on me and the mic going. And Mike just kind of steps in. You okay? I think so. I've learned, actually, the trick to, and this is a little bit of wisdom I'll give you. If you learn nothing else from me today, take this, please, in the spirit within which it is given. If ever you are in public and you have a fantastic fall, the kind that you simply don't recover from without the room laughing at you, the trick to not being laughed at is to just stay down. Because if you fall and you're like, oh, I'm falling, everyone's like, and you're like, I'm falling. Oh, now I'm all tangled up. This happens. Like vaudeville all over again. That's the way to fall, by the way. On with the mic, Andy. So, just stay down. And if someone comes over to you, just play it off as long as you can. Are you okay? I don't know. Like seriously, you were all laughing just now. If I'd stayed down for another 5 seconds, it would have gone from laughter to, oh God. Is he okay? You don't know. You don't know. So there's that story. countless booth stories, many stories of when I was recording for Baccano as Isaac.
It's this story. I started watching Baccano.
Yeah, well, I did. One of my favorite moments recording any show was the fact that I tended to be so ridiculous recording. This mic doesn't like me.
It around so it's wound around.
Yeah, so now it's gonna be like.
I don't think so. Do more slack, Jay.
I'm leaving! Seriously, how lazy is it for me to even have this thing? Okay, so Isaac, is very flamboyant, very over the top, and his voice is very much a reflection of that, and so the best way to get it out is to just be da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But the way we record, we do a few lines or a line at a time, depending on how Tyler, the director, wants to go about it. And they need a little time between lines to make sure that it works and that Tyler likes it and that it's going to fit in the time allotted. So I would tend to freeze in ridiculous poses, whatever I happen to be doing when I stopped an Isaac line. That way, if Tyler wants to get the line again, I'm kind of still there. So it's easy to just expedite the process of getting another take. And this would happen frequently, where I'm in this booth where there's this wall of glass between Tyler, the director, and Corey Charlotte, the engineer, and myself, so they can see everything I'm doing, and to them, it's hilarious. Tyler, at that point, had never worked with me on a show, or rather, I with him, on a show where I wasn't playing the sort of buttoned-up, hand-in-my-pockets kind of, character that just does this sort of thing. Who's not very physical, who's not very emotive. Isaac was all over the gosh darn map, and so, Tyler would sit there and I'd be like, okay, blah, 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 blah. And this would take forever, and I'd be like, look out at Tyler, not wanting to break pose, and I would look, and Tyler would just be like, what's wrong? Nothing. Just wondering what the hell that is. And at one point I was, for some reason, they're doing some monologue when they're on the train. And it was the one that kind of ends with the whole, you can be whatever you want, blah, blah, blah. And they're kind of giving Jacuzzi a pep talk. And for some ridiculous reason, I started doing, you have to picture the mic right here. While I was delivering the line, I started doing this. I don't know why. It just sort of seemed like the pose he would take. And Tyler and Corey are crying in each other's arms watching me do this because it's just ridiculous. I'm standing up and like, la, 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 la. And Tyler's going, please, just don't hurt yourself. This is so awesome and we love it and the sound is great, but I'm so afraid for you. I'm sure you should be doing, you're gonna dislocate your shoulder or take out your lumbar, something. Please just be careful. And I'm like, well, it's the character. And he's like, and Tyler's thing was like, I think that you are moving so ridiculously that it is somehow going back in time through the ether and somehow infecting the imaginations of the original creators of this character and inspiring them to make him more of an ass than he already is. That is how much of an ass you appear to be. And I was like, shut up, it's the character. And after just having to defend my movements, an hour later, we get to a scene where Isaac and Miria both just happen to be doing this. I know this character. After that, I got carte blanche to do everything I wanted to. Well, not everything I wanted to do, but I bet you get the idea. So, yeah, a lot of booth stories, I've taken out microphones, I've worn blue Snuggies. All sorts of things. Yeah, you all know that story, I'm sure. Let's take another question. Who you, madam, there in the front, the second row, whatever it is. What?
I actually was having a request if you might say something in Sebastian's voice for me.
I just did. That was simpatico. I just knew you wanted that. We're just to see what are the chances you'd want me to speak like Sebastian.
Sebastian as well, so...
Very nice. What would you like me to say, though?
I was wondering if you could say, seductively, I
was wondering if you could say totally non-committally. Go on.
May I escort you to the gazebo?
All right. Let me, excuse me. May I escort you to the gazebo? There is something about the British accent, the proper sort of Queen's English, or King's English, whoever's on the throne, that just makes people in every other part of the Western Hemisphere go. I do this frequently in public because I just like to spice things up. I'll just sort of use this voice in speaking to, you know, the clerk at the store or someone, you know, whatever. Because they don't know who the hell I am. So it's fun, and I like to give people stories they can tell. They go, oh my god, this totally nerdy British guy came in today. And he was totally talking about how he was from Cheddington and blah blah blah. So I totally make a total BS backstory about where I'm from. Because they always, where are you from? And I'm like, oh, Iceland. You know, but this happened once, and this is like the greatest response I've ever had to doing that voice was I was at a hotel after a convention. The convention had already moved on, and I guess the concierge at the desk that day had not been there for the convention, so had no idea that I had been there for that, didn't really know, wasn't really infused with the post-con spirit the way other hotel staffers tend to be if they've been there the entire weekend. And so I was just checking my bags at the curb so I can go out and tour the city before coming back and catching a plane. So I came up and I was just sort of in this mood, you know. I've been doing this voice all weekend, so it's very hard to slough off when you've been doing it for 3 days in a row and being marvellous because of it. And I went over and I said, pardon me love, is it okay that I check my bags here for just about a couple of hours? Is that okay? Is it free or do I need to pay for it? And she just goes, what is that coming out of your mouth? No, and I started going, what's the problem? I'm sorry, does that bother you or something? Are you French? And she's like, no. And she's like, no, if you were my boyfriend and you talked like that to anybody else, we would have words. She's like, Deborah, come here, say something. I'm like, something, oh my God. It's been like 5 minutes, I'm like, I love my life so much. I really do. So thank you. I hope it's a very nice gazebo. We're not like at Home Depot shopping for gazebos. Another question. Let's see, another question there. Toward the back, you've got like a little blue thing on your head and you're holding up. Yes, you. You're like, is it blue? You feel it. Is it blue? Yes, it feels blue.
That's real blue. Okay. I was thinking, because I've seen a lot of your bloopers as France.
To be perfectly honest, when I'm in Sebastian's voice, and because he's very buttoned down and very proper, when I screw up, I'd rarely make fun of it. I just sort of stop and start again. You know, it's a sort of character. Now, that's not to say I never did something that might have been a little unruly, or might say that I never left a bomb for Brina Palencia. A bomb, by the way, for those of you that don't know, it doesn't mean I farted in the booth before she was. That's called something else. That's also called pulling a Tatum. I'm kidding, maybe, you don't know. But, you know, bombs are when, you know, say if I'm recording a scene with CL, but Brina's not recorded yet, I will then be what she hears when she comes in to record, however much later. So she will hear, say, a line that she has to then respond to, a line of Sebastian's, and so maybe I go off script and I say something really colorful, and she has to, and it's a kind of this game all the actors play with each other. We're like, oh, is this Todd's character? Oh, hang on, I'm gonna try to screw him up. You know, oh, this is Brina, oh my god, I'm totally gonna like completely derail her read. And so you do this, and like it's a true test of an actor's ability if you can totally mess up someone the caliber of Brina Palencia, because Brina does not care. You can say the most lewd thing about her mother in Sebastian's voice in her pre-roll, and she'll be like, don't care, going in anyway, and she's just a machine. She bleeds ideas. She's not made of flesh. But yeah, but sadly most of them are really dirty, and I couldn't share them with you in this panel. I will, however, tell the microphone story if you want to hear that. I have to speak rather euphemistically though, so as not to offend people who won't get the joke and shouldn't. There is a certain scene in an episode that I won't even tell you because I don't want people to know, where Sebastian is, shall we say,
involved?
Interrogating a nun. Oh, grow up, people. And, you know, it's a very interesting moment when we see Sebastian in a slightly different light than we'd seen him previously. And we think, wow, he really is one hell of a butler. And there's a scene as he has a line when he's in the middle of said interrogating nun. And I did it. And Ian Sinclair, the show's director, my dear friend out in the booth, is like going, yeah, no, it's a good take, it's a good take. Wait, let's get one more. How do I put this, Tatum? I think it needs more movement. To which I respond, because I'm staying in Sebastian's voice, what do you mean, more movement? You want me to dirty dance with the microphone stand? The effect it will have on my voice as I'm delivering like, yeah, that's kind of what I want you to do. And I'm kind of your director, so get cracking. Now, you have to understand, when this particular day, Black Butler, it was in a studio where I'm in a whisper room, and unlike the experience in Bacano, where there's a big wall of glass, that was a different studio, I'm in what's called a whisper room, which is like the size of your average telephone booth. I do not fit in them very comfortably. And there's not a lot of movement to, say, dirty dance with a microphone. And there's only one window in it, and it's in the door. It's this tiny little square that, like just face-sized, right here. And if I'm on mic, Ian can't see me from where he sits out in the control room. Now, and he's got a mic, so I'm hearing him in my headphones when he's telling me, go ahead, hump the microphone stand, get over with. So I then, I'm an actor, I'm going into battle for my director, I've been given an order. So I deliver the line, and indeed, I'm interrogating the microphone stand now. And when I'm done, very satisfied with the effect it had on my voice, I hear laughter. Not on mic later, but his face is right here looking at me like your face going, oh my god, I can't believe it, you perverted SOB. That's totally what's going on the final track. And that is indeed what's went on the final track. So when you watch the episode, just know that I'm in the booth pulling a total dirty dancing move with the microphone stand. So that it sounds like Sebastian knows what he's doing. All right, more questions, more questions. You with the glasses there, and yes, you.
Okay, like, you do a lot of voices, of course. Do you ever have, like, when you're recording, do you have, like, headcanons or something that helps you, not necessarily get into characters, but as you're portraying the character, is there, like, do you think about the background, maybe something in the voice of that scene that is just like your headcanon about?
Yeah, that's a good question, because sometimes it is difficult to keep track of all the character voices you do, and though many of them sound alike, imagine that. There are a few that are very different, and you might be called upon to do several very distinct voices in the same day sometimes. That happened very often, that I would record France and then record Sebastian on the same day. That was tough. But often, I live about an hour away from the studio where Funimation is located, and so I have a lot of time to listen to music or just kind of warm up in the car. And often what'll get me into character is music. I'm a very musical person. I love music, I love hearing it. It's just always been a part of my mental makeup. I cannot imagine life without music. And I will typically, when I have a character of any size, and I know I'm going to be recording this for months, like say Sebastian, or something like that, where I know I've got, this isn't just 1 or 2 sessions. Jim Fancy's been drinking all day. Because he probably has. Oh God. They're like conferring. They're having like a scientific meeting.
She's helping.
To get this.
Fantastic weekend. As I said, first time here, but the moment I got asked, all of the voice actors I know just like converged upon me to say, you must go to this con. Like, kid, go. You're dead to me if you don't go. So I'm there. And I'm telling you, it's like the first 5 minutes and it's already like a weekend with 5 Friday nights. So I'm having a fantastic time. Amazing. I went into Black Bart's cave, which is not a euphemism. Yeah, so
Really? Awesome. Okay. Well, after all, I'm simply one hell of a butler.